Thank you so much. Good evening.
Det er gått hele 30 år siden en av de virkelige store rockelegendene for alvor fikk sitt kommersielle gjennombrudd. I 1972 slapp David Bowie Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars og ble legendarisk. I dag har han blitt 56 år, bor her i New York og startet for 1 år siden arbeidet med det som skulle bli hans 25. studioalbum, Heathen. Med seg har han fått Tony Visconti, produsenten bak store album som Low, Heroes og Young Americans. Og liker egentlig Bowie å snakke om musikk.
Well, this part of the promotion, they're talking about it. I'm not very comfortable with it. I don't. I have less and less really to say about my albums as I get older. Certainly don't mind playing them live.
I would think that will come with experience, that you would get more trained to talk about the music.
Yeah, you would think that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty happy that we're coming out to play Norway, I think, in July.
Yeah.
At the is it the Quart-Festival?
En av Quart-festivalens store attraksjoner, David Bowie, kom til Kristiansand i kveld og står i denne stund på scenen på Odderøya. Forventningene skyhøye.
Forventningene var stor da David Bowie endelig kom på årets Quart-Festival. Og han innfridde både for publikum og kritikere.
How are you? I'm very well, thank you. I'm really tired.
Are you?
Yeah, we didn't get in and asleep until four-ish this morning, so...
I just brought you some reviews from the gig last night.
Thank you very much.
Have a look.
Kongen. What's a Kongen?
King.
Oh, King. King of Court.
Yeah.
How's my pronunciation?
Oh, that's okay.
Well, that's lovely.
And now you can...
Bowie history. Is that history or...
Hysteria.
Hysteria, yeah, I see. Well, heavens above.
Yeah. So what do you think
Very
yourself about the gig last night?
I liked it very much. We had a great time. It was a very responsive crowd. I thought they were very warm. Yeah. And I quite like the fact that we're not really following too much of a format with the shows. They're quite changing from place to place. And so we're a little apprehensive before we go on stage.
Okay.
How the audience will take what we're going to do. So it's always nice when it's like it becomes really quite a thing backwards and forwards. It was lovely. It was lovely. Went on a bit longer than I was going to as well.
And the audience, do they change from place to place where you play?
Pretty much it's the same thing, you know. I can't say that it's too different now. Over the last 5-6 years, there's been a thing that's happened. I don't know what it is, but it's been there's been almost a celebratory thing doing these shows. I don't know when it suddenly started getting like that, but it's felt quite different over the last short number of years, and it's quite lovely. It really feels there's a warm thing that's happening. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm old. But there definitely is a new kind of bond between the audience and myself, and it's quite remarkable, and I really appreciate it. It's great. It's really lovely.
Inspirert av Little Richard bestemte 8 år gamle David Robert Jones seg for å bli Englands største rockestjerne. Gjennom 60-tallet var han aktiv innenfor mange kunstgenrer med hovedvekt på musikk. Og i 1967 platedebuterte han under artistnavnet David Bowie. Det gikk et par år før David Bowie fant sitt musikalske uttrykk, og det kunstneriske gjennombruddet kom med Space Oddity.
Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control to Major Tom. 8, 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you.
I was so excited, you know, but at the end of the 60s, having seen where theatre and art and all these other facets of culture could be pulled into rock that hadn't really been done before. And the idea of taking a theatrical scenario on stage with a characterization rather than playing the honest Joe guy with full of integrity and this is my life and I'll pour my heart and blue jeans and all that, I thought, well, yeah, I don't really buy that. There's something even synthetic about that. That's artificial. That has its own kind of artificiality. So why not go the entire way and create an entirely synthetic situation and see where is that interesting, you know?
Allerede tidlig I karrieren ble vi introdusert til karakteren Major Tom, og Bowie skulle fortsette å leke seg med alter egoer. Androgyne Ziggy Stardust sto for det kommersielle gjennombruddet.
A lot of the early works were written around a theatrical vision, you know. I mean, a lot of the songwriting in those days was to propel a theatrical idea, so the motivation came really from a different place.
Ziggy played guitar, jamming good with weird and spiders.
The 70s really was the start of a pluralistic society in a major way. It was the dawn of the so-called postmodern era. And that the idea of playing with our pasts and playing with absolutes and doing a lot of what if and re-juxtaposing things against each other seemed to be part of what the future was about. And we kind of felt it very strongly then. And I think about 1972, I think we all kind of looked at each other metaphysically and said, you know what, this is the 21st century. This is how it's going to start, like this, where it's really mixing and sampling and hybridization and juxtaposition.
I read somewhere that the alter egos were also because you were a bit shy and that allowed you to play...
I absolutely, yeah, I do. I know that for a fact. I mean, it really was a device for me when I was very young. And I really, you know, I am basically a shy person. I've learned to kind of get over that a lot better now, but I'm quite shy. And I never felt comfortable when I first started as a performer, you know, and I felt it was a lot easier for me to think myself into another person to then go on stage and do the songs. And so an obvious extension of that was to start writing new people, you know, and it just took on its own momentum. I got a lot out of it. I mean, it did put me in a different place, and I realized eventually, of course, that I was doing something different from everybody around me. So, kind of, for survival needs, I kind of found what it was that I did.
We just bought the rights to the restored Ziggy concerts.
Aha!
Do you have any recollection of that? What was that like?
What, the actual, the show itself?
Yeah.
The Ziggy show?
Yeah.
I hate to have to say it, but I remember being quite excited that it was all over, because it was the last show, that one, you know, and I really did want to move on. I was very, very tired. I was very, very tired of touring, and I was very, very tired of Ziggy and that whole thing. I mean, it was 18 months of having to carry this one thing, and I don't have that kind of attention span. I'd been at least 6 to 7 months before then cramming my head with all these new ideas and things that were exciting me, and I just wanted to move on and get on with something else. So there was a certain exhilaration in knowing it was the last show.
Angie! Darling, I came to say good luck.
Oh, you look beautiful, darling. I love that.
Merci. So anyway, you all right?
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of Rolls Royces out there, darling.
Really?
Limousines. Incidents occurring.
Oh, what do you mean?
Tony loved it. He made the driver go by slowly.
Do you like the lines around the lips?
Make up for a night out in the town with the boys.
Go on, Stark.
All right, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
The morning feels so bad. Everybody seems to nag. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp, I love you so.
Etter massiv turnévirksomhet i hele verden bestemte Bowie seg for å bosette seg i USA. Der gjenoppdager Bowie sin barndom soul og funk, og dette resulterer i albumet Young Americans, som får merkelappen Plastic Soul.
She was a young American.
Bowie får en ny musikalsk åpenbaring når han for første gang hører tyske Kraftwerk. Dette i tillegg til et ønske om å komme seg bort fra et belastet miljø, gjør at han flytter til Berlin. Tyskland blir en produktiv periode i Bowies karriere. Igjen kopierer Bowie ikke noens sound, men skaper sin helt særegne.
When you start to kind of create a doppelganger, you kind of imbue that doppelganger with all one's own fears and feelings of inadequacy, and you put them on the doppelganger. Then one day you presume that if you kill that doppelganger, you will be free of all these things. And of course that doesn't happen. I mean, when you think you've killed it off, they all are back in you, and you have to really address those things. And I think that's what happens when you come out of drug addiction. From being a real heavy drug casualty in the later 70s, it was a very slow climb back out over a good 12 years, something like that.
Identity was hidden a lot more in the older times, I think, because I felt there was a need to create a particular feeling throughout the show. I'm less interested these days in creating a theatrical piece so much.
Lost my dog.
I can't really take any notice of what people want or what the music business wants or anything like that, because I've never written for anybody except me. And I've always found that if I'm not excited by what I'm doing, then it's not going to be an album that I'll ever be able to live with comfortably. I kind of felt that, immodestly, that I had made some kind of change in the way that music was approached. I knew that by the early 80s, I mean, before I did things like around Scary Monsters, that period, I knew that what I'd been doing had been taken on board by quite a few other artists, and it was starting to replicate itself in different ways, you know. But I really found that if I wanted to, and I found that that was probably more pleasing to me than anything else that I did, really, is to actually change the context of how music is received and how it looked and, you know, that. And I think when I finally discovered and admitted to myself that that was one of the things that I enjoyed as much as anything else, I think that gave me the motivation to work well, and I think I'd worked well in the 90s.
Etter et par uoriginale album på 80-tallet oppsøker Bowie nye utfordringer som bandmedlem i Tin Machine.
Butter of Suburbia, I knew was a really good album, but nobody's ever heard of that one. I only got one review in the entire world. Butter of Suburbia.
Yeah,
Isn't that a shame? One review, man. How can you do? That's kind of a record, isn't it?
Did you worry about that, actually?
I didn't worry. I was furious. Are you kidding me? One review. I spent weeks on that. Actually, it was a shitty cover. The album cover was awful. That's probably why it wasn't reviewed, you know. People probably thought it was a gossip album.
Do you worry about reviews? Do you worry about it?
I worry about not being reviewed.
Yeah?
Yeah!
But do you read your own press then?
Only if it's really, really good. Or if it's by somebody that I actually respect. There are two things, you know. There's critique and there's criticism. Critics should be your best friend. They really are. They really should be, because they can, if they're good, they can show you your faults and where you let yourself down. There are some very, very good critics that I always read what they write about my work and everybody else's work. And I've always gotten to a point where I can virtually depend on their taste, will be absolutely on the money. And that what they say about a piece of music is very well thought out. They've really listened and they've really bothered to take the time to understand what it is they want to say about a piece of music. As I say, there's not many of them. So most of what you read is criticism, which isn't the same as critique. So they're not really very helpful. You just say, oh, he's a real prick, and have you seen his hair recently? And kind of that passes as critique. He's got really funny shoes. He's old as well. He's over 30, he's over 40. I think he might be over 50. Stop there.
There's always a diamond friendly. Is there a moment in time where you knew that you wrote a classic song? Or in the studio?
I kind of know the weight of an album better than I know a song, actually, you know. I'm usually wrong about songs completely. I thought Let's Dance was a stiff. I had no idea it would be a good single. But I'm not terribly good at singles. Albums, I know when an album's good, I think. And they're really, really good. And this one's really, really good.
These are the days, these are the strangest of all. These are the nights, these are the darkest of all. Like a storm leading us on and on and on.
It took some time before you got back together with Tony Visconti. Why did it take so long?
Well, the reason that we did go back is that I thought that I'd written the kinds of material that were the right kind of weight for us to approach and try doing something with. What I didn't want us to do was go and repeat what we'd already done. So we talked about doing this about, a few years ago. It's been a long time coming, but it's not been the right time. All the material has been slightly wrong. I felt very confident about these songs in February or March of last year when I first started assembling them, putting them together. And I told him that if he was up for it, you know, I'd really like to get in the studio and start recording.
This is the trip, and this the business we take.
What was your writing approach to this album?
This wasn't terribly experimental in that way. It was all pre-written songs, and sort of the 2 or 3 covers as well, you know. You kind of know when a song has a strength and a longevity to it, and isn't just a kind of a temporary piece of something fascinating for a couple of days, you know. You kind of feel, you get to know, you just get to know what is a good song and what maybe is only a temporary piece of work.
Said you took a big trip. They said you moved away. Happened oh so quietly, they say.
What's a good cover version?
Not trying to change it just for the sake of not doing it the same way, you know. And 3 I've chosen on this one. One was a song by the greatest American band of the 80s, the Pixies. Terribly underrated band, and broke up, unfortunately, because nobody in America really bothered about them.
Will you take off your dress and send it to me?
But this is an old Pixies song. It's called Cactus, and it was one of the more obscure songs. Therefore, I thought that was a good one to pluck from the vortex of anonymity. The Neil Young song I picked because it was the first Neil Young album that I ever bought, 1968, I think, 68, something like that. And I was kind of in love, and it was a good accompaniment to my love affair, however brief that was. Cool. That was brief.
I've been looking for a woman to save my life.
I kept the album. Lost the girl, kept the album.
What's your favorite cover version of your own stuff? Do you have any good ones?
What, the ones I really, really dislike, you mean? Yeah. My favourite awful one is Barbara Streisand doing Life on Mars. That's chronic. It's really bad. And you can tell that she was probably bound and forced to the microphone to sing it by that hairdresser bloke she was with. It's like she's doing it under duress of death.
Oh, then
Freedom! You wait till I get you, John.
We are the Good Squad and we're coming to town.
You seem to have a good sense of humour. Where does that come from? Is that family?
Well, I've always had it, but I just hid it.
No. But is there a lot of humour in your work? Yeah.
I don't know. I think it used to quite depress me at one point when people, I think, thought that I didn't have a sense of humour. I love falling over. I really do.
Time may change me, but I can't trace time. I said that time may change me, but I can't trace time. So
now that I'm more interested in just interpreting songs on stage, I really do wish to be perceived for what I believe I am now, which is just an artist who interprets songs, and not very much more complicated than that. So it does allow me room to be, far more relaxed with the audience, because I'm not trying to set up some dramatic situation in any way, I may go back to that, you never know. It does occur to me often, that would make a great idea for a stage piece, And I guess it's the nearest I'll ever get to writing a musical, because I just don't have the discipline to write a musical. I can't, sit down there for 6 months and do that? No, I don't think so. I work much faster than that.
Yeah. Would you like to write a musical?
If I could do it in about 3 weeks, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I keep telling myself that, but the actuality of going to see musicals, there's so few I actually like. I think, why would I want to write one? They're awful.
Yeah, but where does that come from, actually?
I think maybe what I really mean is that I would love to try and create rock in a theatrical context in a way that it hasn't been done before. I think maybe that's what I actually mean. I don't really think I mean that I want to write a musical. And who would want to write a musical? Look at them. But I do I love that. What do I like? Okay, so I have to keep thinking, what do I like? I love to go and see slightly pretentious things by Philip Glass and Robert Wilson and stuff like that. And I think they're awe-inspiring, especially the early stuff like Einstein on the Beach and things like that. I think they're just overwhelming pieces of theatre. I would quite like to do something like that, something really kind of arty, but with a backbeat. That would be cool. Maybe I should do something like that.
You mentioned earlier that you moved around. Is New York your home now? Do you like it? Are you going to
As
stay?
it is at the moment, yes it is, and has been for some time.
You can kind of walk down the street and buy something and it's not on the front page the next time.
I guess the reason for it being, it does allow kind of an anonymity that both myself, my wife and my child doesn't know anything about it, but
It's just got something going for it, It's got a good vibe. I like the people because they leave you alone.
the kind of peace that you don't get in many other cities.
So it's much easier to buy porno here than any other city, because there's always somebody with you when you're trying to get Small Dwarfs with Big Breasts magazine,
That's been the priority, I think.
As David Burns says, because you look out of a window and somebody falls over.
I would reckon. I brought you some Norwegian music.
Norwegian? Oh, thank you very much.
You
You
might
haven't brought me
have
any Norwegian food, have you?
No,
That's what
I
I'm
haven't.
very big on in Norway. I love the food.
I brought you some. The last time I met you, you wanted some Norwegian food. So I brought you some. Here's some cheese and some thigh of a lamb
You know,
thigh.
I may need that in this hotel.
Yeah, and here some chocolate.
Sorry, we love you, we really do.
And can you
Love your
sign?
carpet. Thank you so much for this. I know that I'm going to devour that later on today.